part 4, which is NT Blast. And Vivian's going to be the queen for this one because she is the lead NT consume. And we have 2 individuals here that have consume Blast last, sorry. So that's going to be very interesting as well. Gray, you're more balanced with that, I think, because you have it second. It's double activated, so we'll see how it goes. So Vivian, you're gonna be up first for this one because you're the lead NT Blast. Um, so NT is correlated with problem solving, right? And you're teaching your known information to the tribe. Talk about that. Like, talk about teaching your known information to the tribe in a way that you're solving their problem.
I was just writing that down because I was going to forget. All right. So, the problem solving, teaching known info. So, because I've been into typology for like ever, often when someone's having a problem, my brain immediately connects it. Okay, how is this connected to MBTI or OPS? How could I address this from this framework? And that's just like constant over and over. I might be saying slightly different things, but I'm using the same concept over and over. Problem solving. Yeah, problem solving with the frameworks that I have. Teaching known info. Well, I was a teacher for a little while there. And I do catch myself very often, like when I get into blaster mode out loud, it's teaching, I'm like constantly explaining the same things, usually OPS at the moment. And even if I'm not talking, in my head, I'm basically having a conversation with like one other person, trying to explain different things to them, how they should do this better, and using the OPS framework to address what they are doing. I think that's about it.
All right, and then Gray, what about you? You have it second, and is it double activated? I think it's double
Yes.
activated.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So I have the more EJ version, so there's plenty of known info in there. But it's like there's a real obligation to the tribe. So how I kind of see it is like, yeah, there's the problem solving, there's the NT part of it, but really it's like my every day is there's a Greek chorus of everybody I have ever met, heard of, or thought about ever. If they've ever existed, they're in my head. And I better be able to explain whatever it is that I'm thinking about. It's like the reason I can sound so clear and I can explain myself very quickly is because all I'm doing, just, like Viv said, is like, I'm just doing that all day. And if you think that you're going to pull a fast one on me, do you know how many people are in my head telling me I'm stupid? Because I've already argued with them and won. And there's very, like, when you have this just massive library of people, many of them who are smarter than me, and I'm just doing that all day long and explaining and arguing my way around it, that's what builds the problem solving skills. Because I didn't talk to people much today compared to my normal. I blasted all day. I can't avoid blasting. And that blasting comes in the form of in my head, oh, I have a problem. And I'm not, it's like, God, it sounds almost schizophrenic when I put it this way, but it's like there's somebody else and I'm able to immediately go, okay, so the step one of solving this problem is I have to troubleshoot the problem. I have to identify what the core issues are, and then I have to act on that core issue. So I can go ahead and be like, all right, there's a problem with my camera. Well, the problem with my camera is and I can blah, blah, blah. I could explain it, all of it. I don't need to give all the ST on how I can explain it, but the point is like, I feel like I have to convert everything that I've ever experienced, everything that I've ever do into something that makes sense to that massive web and library of people. Because if I don't do that, then there's just this idea that something catastrophic will happen, something terrible will happen, and I'll either be a terrible person or something will go horrifically wrong with the people I care about. So it's this huge obligation to be able to explain and be kind of, I'm mentally accountable to explaining how I got somewhere, why I got somewhere, and how and why other people should or how they could do or explain what I'm talking about. Which, I mean, I have a YouTube channel, which, by the way, you guys should all go check it out if you're happening to watch this video. Here's a blaster lesson for you. You can find me at Augmented Personality. Like, that's the kind of cheesy shit blasters do. And that's I'm able to recite on the fly this kind of like script because I've practiced it dozens upon dozens of times, and it's exhausting. That's what it's like. Is I literally do this for a living now. All I do is just sit and talk and explain, and it's a lot. It's a lot of work. I don't like doing it all day. I wish I didn't do it all day. And even when I get off the call, the first thing I'm going to go do is I'm going to go get some food. I'm going to go harass my poor husband and blast everything that happened in here so I can process it. It's not my favorite thing in the world that I'm like this. It's tiring.
It's interesting you had so much contradiction in like the way you approach things, not on purpose obviously, but just the way it happened, because you said that you're arguing people with in your head all day and you already beat them in your head, so that's one part. But then the other part is, yeah, you also want to troubleshoot for people, so you want to help people, so you're like fighting them but helping them. It's like, what the hell is going on here? So it's like
well,
definitely.
to kind of explain it, it's like so like if there's something wrong with my camera, it's like, oh, it didn't record right. The first thing I hear in my head is like, well, idiot, why didn't you check it? I'm like, well, I didn't check it because I saw this thing. It's like I have to be able to explain, okay, well then how am I going to fix it to some imaginary person? Because what if they have that problem? What if someone comes to me and says, Gray, I'm having a problem with my camera? I can then say, oh, did you try this fix? Did you try this? Like, I already have a litany and I have all of the different pathways they could go down because I had to be able to explain to the imaginary representations of people in my head, all of that. And everything I do is converted into that. So it is to help people, but I view the tribe as threatening and coming after me. So I'm like beating them off. But at the end of the day, it is a much more helping, caring kind of sense when I'm not, feeling threatened. So
Gotcha. That's so fascinating. Like I'm learning so much from you, masculine TE people. Like there's so much like stuff happening there. Sheila, you have blast last. It's NT. I feel like it's gonna be even harder for you than most of the other types in a way because it's that T at the bottom. Can you share how you've practiced teaching people your known information and also in an NT problem solving way?
I think it's non-existent. I I know I suck at it. Like, what the hell? What is it even? Because when even like, when we were practicing our blast in the Blast Last Club or whatever, it's like play. It's all play that I rewatch. I'm like, I'm just playing. So I just, I will have those conversations like Gray was talking about in my head, but they never come out. Like blasting is for me is just my brain going over these known information and processing. It's like it's the sleep right there and then the blast, but I'm like talking to my fake person in my head, but these words will never come out of my mouth. Like and I'm horrible. I'm horrible at letting people know my plans. I'm horrible at relaying information. I'm horrible at responding to texts and emails. I'm horrible at I suck. I suck. I suck. With the NT blast. It's like, no, I don't want to tell the tribe what to do. If somebody comes to me specifically and asks for help in a situation, I will throw out like, oh, maybe you could do this or maybe you could do that. I don't know, it worked for me, but you do what you think is best. It's like so tentative and scared and like, I don't know, Does that make sense? You want to try that? Let me know how that works. I just don't want to lead anyone the wrong way. And I don't ever want to control anyone, like, because that's the last thing I want. And blasting feels like being controlled to me when you have a blast last. Like if somebody's like, if my husband's like, hey, tomorrow let's get up and go do this thing, and I'm like, ooh, right away I'm like, ooh, don't tell me we got to get up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't know, I feel controlled. It's like this EP comes out of me, and like, especially if you're just wording it a certain way that it feels controlling, like, yeah, so I don't ever want to come off that way. And yeah, but yeah, the blast last just, it sucks, especially in groups, the people that I don't really know very well. I think when it's one-on-one or somebody who's in my little inner circle, I can be a little bit better because I'm less worried about how I'm coming off to the tribe and what I'm saying, and my guard is put down. But yeah, in a group of people, and I know this is going out on the internet and people are going to listen and watch, and then it's like, yeah, I don't want to say anything wrong. So
Gotcha. Uh, Abby, your blast is super interesting. Your blast last, but it's double masculine, so NITE. And I think you also teach for a living. Is that right? Or at least you.
Partly. I talk for a living. I do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm in the wrong profession, I think.
Well, no, that's a good thing because then you're using your fourth animal. But it's double masculine, so can you use it because it's double masculine? It's fourth, right? So, and it's also your third and fourth function too, because the function stack still matters, right? So it's your third and fourth function. So it's double masculine and it's the bottom third and fourth. Like, how do you?
Yeah, I mean, I resonate with a lot with what Sheila was saying about this. Like, it's scary. Like the blast feels scary to me and to other people because my blast is double masculine. So I don't think this is necessarily the experience that Sheila is having, but it comes off a lot as scolding when it comes out, because just because of my function stack and my animal stack, by the time I get to my blast, it's basically like turbocharged and like cranked up to 100, and I am angry. So like I will be like schooling you like a child, like when it comes out. So it gets really, really scary in that way. I don't know if it's so much that I can't use it, but I feel a tremendous amount of responsibility. So for example, in my teaching role, like I had to emotionally process the amount of responsibility that my sharing of information might lead somebody else to make a mistake, or like if they are not up to par with the standards that our school has set, if I have to speak up about that and actually enforce that rule to get them that support, it feels like a betrayal. Like it just feels like I'm, I don't know, attacking somebody. It feels very, I don't know, it's just threatening. And for me, the NT blast is not necessarily about problem solving. It's more like I figured it out. I just don't want to tell you. I will do it for you. Like I'll do it for you, but I don't want to explain it to you. I don't want to tell you how to do it. I don't want to teach you how to fish. I'll just give you some fish, and yeah, I don't know. It's just scary. I don't like it.
Something I've noticed in the community at large, but also I kind of feel like is showing up a little bit in this conversation as well, is like there's a lot of feelings about blast, whether it's as a demon or a savior. Like the FE on blast is really weird. And like everyone has like it's either really painful if it's a demon, and it's also really painful if it's a savior, because there's a lot of strong emotion around it. And I feel like, me personally, and I could be reading the room bung, like I feel like this is the most emotional the group has gotten so far. And I know it's the most emotional I've gotten so far, is talking about how frustrating it is to do blast. So I don't know. It's like there's something about blast particular, and I haven't figured out what it is yet, but like there's something about blast that like really brings out a lot of emotion and tension in everybody, and I'm not sure why yet, but it's very
Yeah.
it's really hard, it seems. I don't know.
I wonder if it's because of vulnerability, right? Because blast is
Yeah.
kind of putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's that, and I also know that like Laura did that wonderful job like compiling all the data, and there's a lot of there's a lot of demon blasts in the group, but then like the blasters are like like I mean, I know for me, like everyone knows me, like everyone knows Kendrick, everyone knows me, like we're very present, you know. And so I wonder if there's like that tension of like volume versus numbers, or and then also like blast is putting yourself out there. I feel constantly exposed, so yeah, it's I don't know what you guys experience. That's why I wanted to know, like, is it like, do you also see what I'm talking about? Am I pulling shit out of thin air? Like,
Well, their blast is always connected to DE, right? Some sort of DE. And so that's, connection. And it is a vulnerable thing to connect with other people, So, yeah, I think, especially if it's sharing your known information, stuff that's known to you is personal, like whether it be SI or NI, it's yeah, so yeah, your personal known information, and then here you go, world. I want to show you it and tell you it and explain it to you. Yeah, I can see why it would be very vulnerable.
Yeah, I think when you use blast, you put yourself in a position where you are the authority on this subject. And sometimes, like for me personally, I feel like, do I know enough about this subject for me to be teaching people about it? Like, I feel like, am I a fraud? Um, I mean, I've clearly researched a lot about it and I'm info dominant, but there's still that part. I mean, because I'm DE and I feel like insecure, and I'm like, like, like when people were requesting those videos for me to make, like those specific videos. So I'm like, okay, I'll make those videos, but inside I was like, sometimes I don't want to get out of bed because I'm like I'm like, the day to day I'm gonna make those videos, and like I'm so like terrified. I'm like,
yes. Yes, I feel that way. People still want to know about Enneagram, and I'm like, I'm not as well versed in Enneagram. I will do this and I will do the research, but I feel like I'm so scared that like someone's gonna be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Be like, oh, you got me. You're right. Thank you for, and I can go hide in a hole somewhere. It is it's terrifying. And I'm imagining, so maybe, and Sheila and Abby, maybe you can help me out. Maybe that's what being blast feels like, is that always feeling of like, no, they're going to call me out for being a fraud, so I just won't blast in the first place so that it can't happen. Maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing.
There definitely is an aspect of like that fraud feeling, always feeling like I'm being put, I guess also with DE, like I'm being put somewhere else that I don't want to be yet, and I have to live up to all these like really scary standards, and therefore, and I can't blast and I can't talk and I can't make things happen, and then oh my gosh, that's just really really scary. So this feeling with the fraud definitely cuts really deep, I think, with especially with DE and masculine D. I keep talking about masculine D, but I feel like that's the most conscious one function for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like, like all the words and my thoughts are all up in my head, and they're so perfect up there, and they make sense to me, and I feel like I should just be able to flow out. But then right here, it just is like squeezed shut, and like I don't know, my mouth is constipated, and all this good stuff wants to flow out, and it's just like I can't, and and then it makes me sound like a dumbass, or like I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm like, but that's not what it is. It's like, that's not how it was supposed to sound when it came out, like. And maybe if I would do so much better, um, researching and writing things down and going over and over in my head what I'm going to say, you know, but I don't do that. So then, I can't blast well, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I'll just play in the moment. I'll just ask them questions and ping back. And I rely too much on my play, and the blast is just so underdeveloped still at 50, because I don't have to do it. And so then I just don't do it. And I've gotten by this far in life. I mean, I piss off people because I don't get back to them or don't reply. Then I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, and I love you. I miss you, and all is forgiven. And so I don't know, but it sucks. I wish I was better. But then, like, say this conversation tonight, I would have had to gone to Kendrick and being like, okay, give me all the questions that you're going to ask, and then I can process them all. But then I'm like, oh, maybe he doesn't want that. And so it's scary for me to reach out to the tribe and ask for things. So I don't ask. And then I just not prepared.
Well, that's okay. We want it to be a little bit more spontaneous, so it's fine. I think the weird thing about blast, because I think a lot of you guys said that blast is scary. I don't know about Vivian though. Vivian seems comfortable with it. She's like, I like blasting. I'm just kidding. But the weird thing is, like, sometimes people do reach out to me from the tribe, and they're like, blast last, and they're like, Kendrick, I have some advice for you. I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to hear it. Like, I want to hear it. Go blast at me. So it's not like it's not like bad. I think, yeah, there is like a negative connotation to it, but like from like my perspective, I feel like I do want to hear your blast. Tell me. It's only bad if you're saying, if you're talking about, like, okay, if you've told me the same thing like 100 times already, then I don't want to hear it because you've told me way too much. But if you're like the blast last person and you haven't said anything yet, or whatever, or if you have blast savior but you have something good to share, hey, you know what? I want to hear it. And if it's organized, perfect, because I'm shit at organizing, so I would love to hear your organized thought. I think that's perfect. With that being said, I this is the perfect lead into the next part of the NT blast. So this question is for Gray and Vivian specifically. If you were to teach someone how to NITE blast, what do they need to do? Like, what is like the process that they would follow to be able to do it? Like, how do they take their organized information first, and then how do they look Sheila? So how do you organize the information first and then teach it to the people? Like, how do you know what is to teach to people? Like, and it's also NI. It's like abstract. Like, what exactly are you organizing? Because for me, I have SITE blast, right? So for me, it's like concrete facts. Step by step, step 1, step 2, step 3. So what are you guys doing? I'm like curious. Yeah, one of you two have to answer
okay.
this
I'll go first. I'll go first because Viv can make more faces that way, and that'll help her process. Oh God. Okay. Yeah. I'm sitting here, like, as soon as you started saying, I'm like, of course you're gonna ask that question. That's one I didn't think about. So how do you NITE blast? Okay, so first off, when you're blasting, I would say this is why it's vulnerable, is you have to take the self out of the equation. When I'm blasting, I'm not thinking about what I want to hear. I don't care what I want to hear. I don't matter in this situation. What I'm trying to do is and this is very DE of me, is I'm trying to smush down to the most, like especially with SE, it's like I have a particular concept I'm trying to drive home. I'm trying to make sure it makes it, like, it's so easy a caveman could understand it. Like, I need it dumbed down to the base possible level. And I don't care if it makes me feel stupid saying it. I don't care if I don't like it. It doesn't matter. I have to get it out there. And then it needs to be, it's a one idea, and I'm giving a highlight reel of sensory to illustrate it. So I just explained. So right now I just did it. I just am trying to crunch it down into an idea of NT blast. I'm going to talk slower. I'm going to use I'm not using big, like I joke, it's like NT consume words, like the, you know, the bigger conscientiousness is like a really good one. It's like just ridiculous. It's like no one cares about that word, but people care about hardworking. Everyone knows what that means. So it's like using crunching it down as much as possible. And then I'm using literally right now as an example. You can see it in like kind of the difference. Kendrick, this is not intended as a throw of the bus. The way that you make like your OPS videos and the way I make them is like yours are great SI and then mine are great NI because they're not trying to do the same thing. I'm like, here's one concept. I'm just going to talk about save your demon state and that's it. And I'll give you an example of myself, which I mean, you saw the videos, use that. Your OPS breakdown was there's all of these different concepts within OPS and I'm going to break them down in the order that you should know them. So it's kind of focused on, I'm like, I can't do more than one concept per video because I get agitated by that thought. It's like, no. They need one concept. They need examples and highlight reels of it. So that way they have the best possible example. And I don't care if I don't like it. I don't care that there's part of that video of the Save Your Demon one. I'm in tears. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if that makes me look vulnerable because the tribe needs to hear it. So the tribe's gonna hear it. So it's kind of like, that's the perspective of NITE. Like the optimal NITE is one concept for everybody. And the more you can crunch it down and make it like, if your dog can understand it, it's dumb enough. As terrible as that sounds, because like obviously people aren't stupid. Like it should make sense. And it's not like TE's dumb, but that is kind of what I'm doing is like, I want to make sure I hit the lowest common denominator because then everyone's on board and I left nobody behind. So that's kind of the EJ perspective. And yeah, I would really, if for anybody else who's watching, as I now turn to address the tribe, I would go look at like, you know, Kendrick has this fabulous video on the basics of OPS. And if you compare that, it's like you can see SITE versus NITE clear as day. It's like it's perfect. It's a perfect comparison if you look at my versions versus his versions. And they're both useful. They're incredibly useful and valid. They're just two different kinds of blast. So there you go. That's how you NT blast. Yeah, see, you're clapping and it's like all of that came from somewhere. I don't know where it came from. I was really scared before I started talking that I was going to sound like an idiot. And I'm so much smarter when I talk and I'm really an idiot in here. So that's exhausting to then do that. And I'll go need a nap and I'll be really tired tomorrow because I just did that. So whenever I have a new blast, it's exhausting.
Okay. There's a lot to process here, but okay. The first thing is, so I guess that's why NITE sounds like it's such general advice. It's because you need to crunch it down so narrow that, like you said, you know, any idiot can understand it. But the thing that confuses me though is like, how can you say so much? How can you talk so much about one idea? You know, like how do you have so much to say about one idea?
It's not about the one idea. It's about the highlight reel of sensory. I'm talking about one idea, but I'm giving myself room to channel change over and over and over again. Right now I'm doing it. What am I doing with my hands so I can keep talking about the same idea? I'm going to give you a different physical example so I can tolerate talking about the same thing over and over and over again. That's how I deal with it. How do you talk about the same thing over and over again? Because it's your SI.
Well, I don't, but I'm an EP. But
no, well, yeah, but when you do talk about the same thing, it's sensory same thing instead of concept same thing. It's still OI. You still blast.
I do.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same. See, I'm even doing it right now. It's the same. What do you mean it's different? It's all the same.
I feel like it's different. I don't feel like it's the same. Like
because any different concepts, they can't be the same, Gray. It's different. It's different sensory. That sensory in this box, that sensory in this box. If it's the same sensory, it's the same. And I'm like, no. It all fits in the NI. This is exactly, I'm using you as a highlight reel. This is how I deal with it, as I steal as much examples as possible and smear it all over my NI. And then I can tolerate doing NI because I'm still demon NI. You think I like doing this shit? Like, no.
That's true. That makes sense. I forgot that you had demon NI. That's a good point. Okay, I'm gonna loop back to you, Gray, but I want to hear Vivian's take first before I go back to you because maybe I'll understand how you guys are using NITE because yeah. So Vivian, let's hear your point of view first before I speak more on this.
This is really hard for me to explain because this is my first thing and it's double activated. So I think Grace just really explained it well. And she probably gave you more sensory examples than I ever would. Because let's see. How do you NITE?
Like how do you organize your known information, and then how do you then once you have it organized, how do you teach it to people? Like what's going on here? Like
how does NI first organize? I don't know.
you're the lead NI here. You're the one that knows it better than anyone, supposedly.
Supposedly, but it's what I do unconsciously, so I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
So it's that much harder for me to even try to explain what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, you don't ask the lungs if they can breathe. Hey lungs, how do you breathe? They just do it. Like they're not involved. The lungs are not part of the equation, despite the fact that they're the ones doing the work.
Right. Okay, maybe I'll ask Abby. Abby, you do this for a living. Okay, you have no choice to do it. You're an EP though, so teaching your known information is going to be hard as hell. Like I have it at Xavier and I freaking hate it, and I still feel like I'm stupid when it comes to blasting. So you have it blast, and you had to learn how to use it. So Vivian does it automatically. It's like breathing oxygen, right? But you had to learn it. So, and you're actually doing it because you have to do it for work. Otherwise, you would have been fired by now. So clearly, you know how to use it. Otherwise, you would have been fired by now. So how are you organizing if you are organizing? I mean, you are organizing because otherwise you've been fired, like I said. And then how are you teaching the stuff to people? Like, what are you doing?
I lean heavily on consume. I learn as much as I can and I put it all on. I'm going to get really SI here because that's the only, I don't know, I'm picturing myself doing it and I'm just going to spew and hopefully it makes sense. Yeah, so gathering everything that I need to know and learning as much as I can on the topic to like a really, really extensive, like overdoing it amount, and then putting it all on a Word doc and then going in and cutting it out like by concept. So I have like a really large, I don't know, you can't see it, but like a really big monitor because I need to open like 5 different documents at the same time. So I can literally like take the piece of information and put it in a different box. Yeah, I used to do it with cue cards, but then I got really nitpicky about like writing it perfectly. Anyway, yeah, and then I think I tried to lean on play. I tried to do anything that I can to not have to blast it out. So like doing very experiential kind of things so that they feel it emotionally as much as possible instead of me having to lecture. So for every class that I've ever taught, it's always been, how can I talk the least here? Like, let me show you all these like spoken word poetry so you can get really into it, and let me leverage these TED Talks of people who are explaining it, and let me think of like, I've thought of complete board games for people to play so they can live in the life of a survivor of crime and what it's like to access support, because I'd rather you experience it than me having to tell you what it's like. So I kind of circumvent it. It's not that I don't know it, it's just I don't want to be the one to tell you. Like, I just don't want to be the one to speak it, if that makes sense. So it'll get organized in all these different ways.
I feel like you are onto something here. Like,
that makes sense.
So once you have it all on the Excel sheet, how do you know what to chop away so that, because, like Gray was saying earlier, you have to dumb it down so low that everyone can understand it. Like, it has to be so general. So once you have it all on Excel sheet, how do you know what to chop up? And how do you know to like concisely say it in like a way that you can say it in such few words and it makes sense?
I don't know that I know, to be honest. Like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Like, a lot of times I come off as like people don't get it. I don't know. Like, at least for the first couple of classes that I was teaching, people are like, wait, what? Like, and I'll have to do it again and again. And the SE brain gets really confusing, especially with visual, because I see pictures. So I'll be like talking and then I'll be like, oh, but I saw this, I'm going to bring that in. And then I saw this and I'm going to bring that in. And so the NI kind of just gets fleshed out by itself. And so the way that I go about it is I kind of try to watch my brain as much as possible. And whenever it's just naturally making a connection with SE, I'm like trying to capture that on paper and then building on that concept over and over and over again. And you have to go through it multiple times, because the first time you're making a connection with two disparate facts and it seems like a really strong connection until you start to build out a different neural pathway. And then you're like, oh crap, like this actually connects with this. And then you have to like restructure it all over again.
Yeah.
I'm losing you, am I?
No.
Okay.
So there's something you said there I wanted to latch onto. The way you know what works is just by doing it. And like you said, like I try it and I didn't know, they were confused. So you just kept trying it. And that's how you know what works and what doesn't work, is like that right there, is that there is like like all of the animals are required for learning. So like you gather with and around the tribe, you gather for yourself, you process it. And then when you share with the tribe and they give you your feedback, it begins again. So yeah, that's how you know what to use, is just the tribe uses and abuses whatever you gave them, and then you try again.
Yay, I'm doing it right. Yay. Oh, you're muted, Kendrick.
Oh, I feel like you guys all have the different pieces of the puzzle here to fully explain this properly, you know, because you all have like different parts here. So I'm trying to like piece it right now as you guys are explaining it. No, it's good. So Abby said that the facts have a link to each other. Is that what you just said earlier? Like the facts have a link to each other?
Yeah.
How do you know what the links are between the facts? Or anyone here, Vivian or Gray or Sheila, how do you know what the links are to the facts? You know?
Sheila, do you want to go? Also, Kendrick, you're going to need a processing nap after this one, I can tell.
No, this has, I mean, usually the blast topic is the one that people care about the least, but the anti-blast is super interesting now, because no one can actually like explain what it is, you know, like no one can explain how it works, you know, like no one has the complete piece, I mean, is what I'm trying to say. So like I feel like you guys have you guys have a little bit of each, and if you come together kind of like I don't know, Captain Planet or whatever, like you know, you can complete it. But yeah, go ahead, Sheila.
Well, like she was saying, how you like to flesh out an idea. So like I had done an interview and I was talking and Joyce is like, you just did NITE, you know, well, she said NI, but it's like, you know, I was talking about being a hairstylist and all the different heads of hair, and some person can have, you know, really thick hair and really thin hair, and you could take this hair color and put it on this head and this head, and it's all going to, you know, turn out differently, and then, you know, and cut. And so it's like I fleshed out everything there is to about, you know, cutting hair, coloring hair, the different textures, and it's all just hair. But I like took all the SE, you know, and gathered it all into the concept of basically everyone's hair is going to react differently, you know, to each color, because, you know, so there's that, fleshing things out. But I tutored English grammar for 2 years to like 4th through 6th graders, and the same thing. It's like I have to consume, write down everything, go over in my head, memorize as much as I can. I bring in a lot of visuals for the class, you know, because they're kids, and you know, you want to make English grammar fun. You know, dissecting a sentence is not fun for most kids, and so it's like, you know, teaching them with games. You know, we play, you know, memory games and sing songs, you know, to help memorize. And so yeah, but getting up there, I would always rely more on the play to make it fun for the kids, but still to be able to teach them, how English grammar works and why it works and what you need to do for it to work. So yeah, but I definitely, and with the math or the feminine sensory, it's like I could sit and memorize all these songs and they'll be in my head and I could sing them for a few days, but then now, a year later, I'm like, gone, it's gone.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Great.
Sorry, there was just something interesting you brought up with hair. Is I did something where I was processing like having to upgrade thumbnails and change up editing style and like work on like lighting, and I realized that everything is dog grooming, because you can't make a video where you just go, hi, my name is Gray and welcome to Augmented Personality. Today I'm going to be talking about blah. Like you can't, like there's a sense of like you have to make it inviting. When someone brings their dog in, they don't want to hear, hi, I'm going to be grooming your dog today. Your dog has mats in it. I'm going to have to shave them. Your dog will be naked. I hope you enjoy. Like, you can't do that. You have to be like, hi, how's it going? How have you been? How's your baby been? Oh my God. I see there's a little bit of nodding. So today we're going to make him look a little sporty. And there's this like, I just turned everything into, everything requires a feeling function, which means that everything is dog grooming. And I just turned it into this conceptual how I like it's not literal, because obviously not everything is dog grooming, but it's exactly, see, even now I'm saying, oh, your hair thing is exactly the same as my dog grooming thing. It's the same kind of categorizing. And that is what NI wants, is like, can I reduce the number of ideas I have to deal with? Because the more ideas I have to deal with, the more stressed out I'm going to be. And that, so like, as soon as I get that, and this is what Consume Last does, I got new info from Sheila and I got new info from Abby, and I instantly went, I know what that is. It's this thing I already know, and it's not literal. And so that's when you're looking at NITE Blast is it is that. And then Viv is like, perfect. Gray is talking for me. I'm now going to take everything Gray said, and I'm going to have my own analogy that it's all getting shoved into. Exactly. It's all going to get shoved into something even more reduced down, because I'm slightly spread out because I have like the OE savior, despite being Consume Last. And she's going to be like chunk all the way down. So that's, all of us are still doing the same thing. And that's where the NI comes in handy, is I can see like, this is the same, this is the same, this is the same, and it's not literal. So there you go. I just got excited about blasting again. See, this is how you know I'm a savior. I got excited about it. So it's fun, at least this time.
Okay. Thanks guys. I got it now. But it's good. I needed all your examples for
You're gonna need a nap. You're gonna need a nap.
I honestly can't do anything that you guys were talking about right now. Like, I can't even like imagine doing it. But I get what you're doing. I just can't do it. It feels like unnatural for me. So it's interesting how you guys are. So are you all doing that normally? Like, Abby, like, do you do that too? Like, really? Oh my God, that is so
Usually
weird.
it comes out in the shower for some reason. I don't know why. Like the NIs usually just pop out in the shower, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to run out and like write it down. And like,
They do. They
yeah,
do.
I don't know
Yeah.
why.
I come up with the best ideas in the shower or on
Yeah.
walks. Walks are really good too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wait, so
Walks with, for me too, it's like, if I don't bring anything with me when I go for a walk, because it's just like I'm repeating the same things over and over, trying to like distill it down, like that perfect moonshine, just, yeah, it's just like, and I'll go over and over, and yeah, it's just like distilled as fine down to this perfect little, yeah, it's just like constant. So
A little
like
pearl.
Gray is constantly doing this, and that's just how I feel. Like my brain is up here, everything is like coming in, and I just want to like funnel it all down to one little thing.
Yeah. I think,
you guys feel really excited when that happens? When like you
oh
you
God,
get
yeah.
to that point? Okay, wow.
Feels good. Feels safe. Because that's our box for all of us. Savior,
Right.
demon. That's our IJ box. And when we have it, that's our safety space.
Do you write it down right away,
Oh, hell no.
or do you forget it once you've narrowed it down, or does it stay with you?
So I'll speak for myself, but I'm an annoying blaster who puts all of her ideas on YouTube. So that's my solution to that one.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that because I do that too. Like I watch my own videos because I forget, so I'm gonna put it on video form. But like, okay, okay, because okay, for me, it's like so hard to wrap my head around it. Like, so you guys are like a giant funnel, taking in all this freaking facts that you learn every day, and for some reason or another, you somehow compress all of it into like one concept and one idea. And then when you get to that point, then it's like magic, like boom. Wow, that is so interesting. See, I don't do any of that. I go to the shower, I get ideas, but I link them. I'll take one of your magic and I'll link it to someone else's magic and I'll make a super magic, you know. But it's not like not like narrowed down. So okay. Okay. Last question, everyone, before we wrap this up. Getting started, rapid fire. Um, what makes you get started or not get started? Let's start with Gray first.
Um, so the best thing that helps me get started is the first thing that Drew and I do every day. We've been a little bit out of this routine, but the best productivity days are when we go for a walk and we both talk about what we have to do that day. And so we're kind of, as we're walking, blasting to each other. And that's, he says what he has to do today. I have to say what I have to do today. It kind of helps organize, refresh us. Also, when then when he gets home, we ask each other how the day went. So it kind of has this nice arc to it. So then it feels very, it gives a nice structure to the day of this is how my morning goes. So that routine, it's the same. There's another person involved, boom. And then when I get home, I'm able to get started right away and work. So.
Well, that's awesome. Vivian?
I take a little bit longer to get started. So, but I do have like a mental plan for the day. Like I've taken up like do 3 things. What those 3 things are, I don't know. But I'll pick 3 things and make sure by the end of the day I usually have get them done. Otherwise it feels like, oh, I didn't do the thing. Getting started, my easiest example is for writing. Like I have to get into a specific spot, I have to be settled down, I have to eaten, gone to the bathroom, everything done, and then I can sit down and then find the right song and then I can start writing, as long as I have an idea of where I'm going next. That's about it.
And how long do you get in that mode? Like how long can you sustain that when you're blasting?
30 minutes to an hour. The hours giving a good is when I really get it going, but usually it's like 30 minutes and then I'm like, okay, I need to do something else, and then I can go back and forth between doing something productive and not doing something productive.
So you dip in and out to recover in between.
Mm-hmm.
But what about you, Gray? You're play blast. So do you dip out too, or is it just like a bulldozer?
So it's a mix. It can be like that where I'm going in and out. My more productive days are usually when I'm going in and out. But it really, I try to follow my system and what it wants because that varies. There are some days I wake up and I'm able to just kind of do almost like deep work where I'm able to just crunch for hours and there's nothing in here but blast. And there are some days where I have to do a little this and a little that and a little this and a little that. And the more consistent thing is a little this, little that. But then there are some days where like the stars aligned and everything worked. And for some reason I'm super productive that day. And those days are beautiful. I would say the other thing I do try to do for the productivity thing with the up and down is I did not do this naturally. Drew actually taught me this one of like get up every hour for 5 minutes and walk around and get away from working to like go process a little bit and then sit back down, work for 55 minutes, get up and walk, work for 55 minutes, make sure you eat at the same time every day, get back, work again, kind of regulate the energy a little bit more. Once you, like for me, once I started regulating that energy, I had so much more than I realized, which is terrifying because I have so much. So
That's really good advice. Actually, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna start using that. Sheila, what about you?
So being the blast last, procrastination is huge. So what motivates me is the tribe. if I have people coming over, I'm going to motivate. I'm going to get motivated to get to the store, to get the groceries, to cook the meal, to clean the house, to scrub the toilet, you know, like, because I don't want the tribe knowing my house is messy. So it's like, that's my husband's always like, we should invite people more often. The house is always so clean when people come. I'm like, I know. So I'm very motivated by the tribe. And if anyone is relying on me, I'll get the thing done. I don't want to disappoint. And then I'm also very motivated by my moods. So if I'm in the mood to paint, then hell yeah, I'm painting. If I'm in the mood to do this, then I'm doing that. So my FI kind of drives the boat, the train, the car. It just drives, and my mood is like so driven by that, which sucks, but also great too. It depends on, the mood.
There's some great tips, guys. I like them. I'm actually gonna use all of them. Abby, you're the last one. How do you get started?
So my super secret sauce for getting things started is to take on so much that you physically cannot not get started, because that would you would just completely fade into oblivion. Yeah, it's not very adaptive. I don't think you should take this one.
All right, thank you for that. I'm not sure if that's a good tip.
It's not a good tip. Don't do
might
it.
just make it worse because then you're overwhelmed and you can't get anything done.
Yes, but that's when you have demon FI and you don't realize that you're overwhelmed. So you just keep going.
The play way. That's the
There
play
we
way.
go.
I like it. I like it. I don't do this at all. I'm not like that at all. I've never done that before, and I'm not doing it currently. Nope, not me. You couldn't catch me doing that.
I don't think that works, but okay. Like, okay, whatever. Like,
haven't died yet.
Yeah. Okay. It's all good. Hey, you know what? Everyone can have their own opinion, so it's all good. So everyone, thanks for coming out and doing this panel interview today. And I learned a ton from you guys, especially the last part where you're talking about the magic. Like that just blew my mind away. How that works. I'll just leave it at that. So bye everyone, and hope that you learned something from this panel interview from this awesome guest today.